there? Okay, the lady in green? Okay, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Another one? Nope. Sorry, there's... Nope. Who? You are not listening. Okay, in relation to financial services. She got it. And that was intrigued because everybody had an opportunity. She said women are the best paymasters. But what you find a lot of times is that women have the ability to grow their businesses into big, big things. However, they never have enough security. So when they come to a financial institution, then they're never able to access finance. So in line with that, CDN, we've recognized that, and we have a lot of lady customers. So we've come up with different products just to support ladies. She also talked about the AFAWA program that they were doing at Equity. We also do the same to help women access finances, at a subsidized security rate. So for me, what I'd say is that we're very happy that we are here today. It's been a great opportunity, and thank you for inviting us. I have really been talking to HR all through and telling her now we need to become women on board members. And possibly, even if we're not able to get it from corporate, we'll probably join individually because we've really received a lot of value from this training. So thank you very much for that. And CDN, we have 47 branches, believe it or not. We're in pretty much every county. And we are happy to support you from everywhere. We've had a lot of great discussions with some of you women here around supporting other ladies, the sanitary towel initiatives and things like that. It's been amazing, and we want to be part of that, not just as Wangare, Catherine, and Elizabeth, but also as, an institution. So I can talk and talk and talk and talk. Remember, I'm an extrovert. So I'm in business development. So please see me. I'd love to open all your accounts, give you facilities, give you good interest rates, and things like that. Thank you.
Wow, can we have a warm round of applause for them? We do for them 5 factorial.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that the first organization that Women on Boards went to speak to their senior leaders was CDN. And we got Faith Nkatha, who currently sits on our board, and we have gotten her into so many boards now she's saying no. So HR, you have no excuse. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Catherine.
And your dad was my first boss in the insurance industry.
On that, we need to do a 5 factorial, right? Yeah. Even as they lead the stage. Thank you, ladies. As we go, 1, 2, 3, go. Yes. Absolutely fantastic. Are we happy to have partners and sponsors? It's always good to have someone holding your hand to walk the journey with, right? All right. So now we are moving into our last presenter, the cherry on top, as I always say. And I always like to start with a quote. I love being inspired. And today we are going to read from John C. Maxwell. I'm sure some of you have read, a couple of his books. And there's a quote even in line of the topic that we're going to have today in this session, talking about leadership. He's big on leadership. So the quote goes like this: a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. I even had somebody already saying it in the crowd. So, so a leader is one who knows the way, and we've talked a lot about the vision, making the vision clear by Madam Caroline Armstrong, who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. And I think this is the place where we have the highest challenge in showing the way, right? Because this calls for us being examples to those we are leading. Fortunately for us here at Women on Boards, I always say that Madam Catherine's social capital, if it was to be turned into actual money, I don't know, it would pay for how many sanitary pads, for those projects. but we have in our midst one who has really shown the way, and is going to show us how to show the way, right? Because I think for me, one thing about leadership is the ethical part of it, right? And his topic is going to be about ethical leadership, upholding integrity and transparency. He's also been one of the close male allies, as I'm made to understand, from the onset, actually. And we are very, very privileged to have him here. He happens to be the former chairman of the Central Bank of Kenya, the Network of Social Capital, and managing partner at Mohammed Muigai Advocates. He is a former chairman, as I said. I've said that already. His leadership at CBK was pivotal in shaping Kenya's financial policies, while his role at the law firm highlights his expertise in legal and financial advisory. His career blends strategic financial oversight with legal excellence. He's had both global and local, experience, and therefore we are getting a world of a rich world of experience from him. Please join your hands together and help me to invite to the stage the one and only SC Mohammed Nyaoga. Karibu sana. Thank you so much for gracing our event. Honored to have you here.
Thank you very much. One thing you forgot to say is that Catherine is my sister. And she bullies me into anything. And I will never say no to Catherine. Now, do me one favor. We were supposed to start at 2. We are starting 45 minutes later. And I'm going to make you dance for 10 minutes for that. How about that? No. I'll spare you. I think, who's moving this, please? Let's move. Ladies, I can't say gentlemen because there's no gentleman in the house. Where is he? Those ones are at the periphery, so we can't count them in. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm indeed extremely privileged to be here today in the midst of all these very distinguished ladies. As you mentioned earlier, I've been with Women on Boards from day one. And I'm so impressed by the level of growth. I was telling Catherine that now, look at this. I mean, the first meeting, I think we were like 10 of us. But you can see the growth that Women on Boards network has achieved. Catherine and team, keep it up. And I have no doubt that you'll grow even more. Whenever I have inquiries on board positions for ladies, I always call Catherine and I say, Catherine, please can you send me 2 or 3 CVs? So make sure that you are in our good books, not my good books, because she will sieve and decide whose CV to send to me. The topic that I'm going to talk about today is a very critical topic in our lives, both social, political, and economic lives. And it's a topic that we take very lightly, but yet it is very important in helping society to take very positive directions or steps in its growth. So I don't need to go through this. Let's proceed. It's ethical leadership integrity. So, just go ahead. Let's proceed. Now, I don't know where you're starting from. You are still... No, that's not the first page. Have you lost something? No? Okay. So, this topic has been under discussion since 3,300 BC. It's not a new topic, and you can see Aristotle here grappled with it. But this person, this philosopher, lived over 2,000 years ago, before the boardroom was invented. So you can see how old this topic is, how old the issue is, or how topical it is. In society, the question of ethics has been responsible for the formation of many of our religious orders and for our cultural norms. In societies, you hear people talking about taboos. This is wrong, this is that, this is that. And some of our ethical rules are written, some are not written, but they form the basis upon which we make decisions on what is right and what is wrong. Let's proceed. In Kenya now, the question of ethics is at the very center of what is going on. It is now being pushed from the periphery to the center. And we see agitation around the issue of ethics occupying a more central place in decision making in our country. And it is called keeping. If you listen to our young people that are talking, they are not saying that we want political leadership. They are talking about accountability. That's why they say we are leaderless, we are tribeless, we are thisless. That's what it is. Accountability is a very important component in ethics. The truth is, the method by which this is now being demanded is new and has got new energy. And this issue is a very old issue, as I mentioned. It is a very important factor in leadership. It can either, if you have good ethics, it can lead to success of leadership or failure. And remember that there are 4 eyes of leadership, not 3 eyes, 4. Okay? Impact, inspire, influence, integrity. Okay? The 3 or 4 eyes of leadership: impact, inspire, influence, and lead with integrity. So a leader must impact, a leader must inspire, a leader must influence, but a leader must lead with integrity. But integrity is cross-cutting. It cuts through the three factors. Before colonization, our societies addressed these questions through customs and through taboo. This is wrong. You never do that. In our family, in our society, we never do that. And those were ethics that they were talking about. Then we were introduced to Western religion. But when religion came in, we started now talking about what? Sin. It is sinful to do this, it's sinful to do that. These are ethics that we are talking about. Then we were introduced to Western religion, sin. Later, religion, in terms of ethical issues, is now being replaced by the rule of law. So the legal rules became our barometers of what is right and what is wrong. The rules became the instrument of social control because there are sanctions that apply when people transgress the law. But we must agree that legal rules are not enough because they set the minimum standards of behavior. It's important that the legal standards is supplemented by a higher moral one. It is to this aspiration that we owe our appetite for ethics and for ethical leadership. Now, in philosophy, and remember we talked about Aristotle, who was a philosopher, ethics is a study of moral phenomena. It's a discipline concerned with the study of what is morally good or bad, and what is morally right or wrong. We are not discussing about what is legally right and wrong, but there are points of intersection. Something can be both legally and morally wrong. Most things that are legally wrong might also be morally wrong. But there's a difference between the two. But more importantly, the law sets the limits, because you may say, I can't be charged for a criminal offense for this moral transgression, because the law sets the limit. We should not go without incurring legal consequences. You can act within the law, but morally wrong. Okay? So, what happens is that where our moral sensibilities are opposed to, or in addition to our legal responsibilities, are engaged, we're in the domain of ethics and of ethical considerations. So it goes beyond that. Ethics, is it ethical? Is it ethical? Is it morally right? You cannot be charged for a moral transgression unless it offends the law. Okay, let's proceed. So, what do we mean then when we talk about ethical leadership? Ethical leadership, as you can see, is leadership that is directed by the respect for ethical beliefs and values, for the dignity and the rights of others. Whatever you do, don't transgress on the rights of others. It is thus related to the concepts such as trust, honesty, and consideration. Can you trust this person? Is this person honest? Can we trust this leader? Is this leader honest? When we discuss ethical leadership, we are discussing values in leadership. Okay? So ethical leadership, as far as the definition goes, is putting people into management and leadership positions who promote by example. Okay? Who promote by example of appropriate ethical conduct and their actions, relationship in the workplace. A leader does not set out to be a leader. You can't go out there and say, I want to be a leader. God will see how are you. Okay. But becomes one by the quality of their actions and the integrity of their intent. People judge you and say, this person can be a leader. So it's not you who says, I want to be a leader, but people judge you by the quality of your actions and the integrity of their intent. I don't know whether our politicians will pass this test. Can they? Okay. But we still elect them. So, but we must start with leadership. Okay? Leadership means many things. At its most basic, it means being in front. Okay? You're just in front physically. You're just in front. It means being in front. so that you can be followed. That means the direction that you are taking is the direction others will take. At the very basic. Okay? The difference is that as a person in front, you decide what direction to take. So if you have followers, you take the wrong direction, what happens? They will follow. Okay? So that the first element of leadership is example. The first element of leadership is example. Leadership is by example. And the old saying that you cannot preach water and drink wine. If I may take that logo. You can't preach water and drink chaga. Maybe that brings it a little more home. Okay? It is perhaps the best starting point for ethical leadership. If in my organization I do not want people drinking wine, I have to live by it. If I want them to tighten their belts, I must have mine tightened first. Okay? Hoping to inspire ethical conduct by decree is impossible. You can't say from today everybody don't drink wine, drink water, if you are doing the opposite. We talk about tone at the top, which translates to tone at the middle. Tone at the top. The fish rots from what? But they also say that even if it rots from the head, even the tail is good. I don't know what that means. Okay? The fish rots from the head. To lead, the leader must be going the direction he wants the followers to proceed upon. If you tell them to turn left, where you have turned right, you are on different paths. Okay? If that happens, the leadership of your people shall come from elsewhere. There'll be a vacuum. There'll be a gap. If you have agreed that we'll drink water and not wine, it's the leader's job to ensure first that he is not drinking wine, but also that the others are not drinking wine either. I'm bringing it completely to the basic. I know none of you here drinks wine. I can see you drinking water. Okay? Her leadership will be successful or as disastrous as what she encourages or what she condones. Okay? What you encourage or what you condone defines your leadership. So once the leader has identified the ethical rules of the particular organization, she must enforce them, but she must also be seen to enforce them. You must enforce, but must be seen to enforce them. So therefore, if you aspire to be an authentic leader, you must have the confidence to stand alone. But also, more importantly, the courage to make tough decisions. Not be liked. Not be in a beauty contest. You must have the courage to stand alone, but also to take tough decisions. Let's proceed. Let's proceed. Leadership must be trusted. But trusted, to be trusted, it must be understood. There are cases where people say, I don't understand my CEO, I don't understand my manager. Okay? So they can't trust you. How can you be trusted? How can you be understood? By being transparent and ethical. you must be able to explain your decisions. But you make sure that those decisions also make sense. Okay? Be able to explain them, but they must make sense to the people that you are leading. We must be able to reconcile what we say with what we do. Okay? Granted, there are things that must remain confidential, but there are also ethical reasons behind this. Where things are supposed to be discussed openly, discuss them openly and share them freely. Okay? But the others that can be kept confidential. But you know what? And I'm going to try that. Maybe I should not try that here. Today, if somebody asks you to give them some 1,000 bob, how will you do? How will you give it? How will you give it? No, forget about investment. I'm talking about cash. How will you give it? If you have the cash, how will you give it? In Kenya, the culture we have here, Catherine, these are 100 bob. The culture we have in Kenya is a culture of secrecy. So you ask somebody, it's their money, and they are giving it to you in their own volition. Am I right? Why do we do that? Okay? We have a culture of secrecy. It is your cash, but you just, or under the table or something like that. So translate that to leadership. How many of you don't give the money like that? There's nobody. So that translates to some sort of culture. Okay? It's a culture. There's a difference between secrecy and confidentiality. We have had a discussion in the country of late, and most sensitive and embarrassing questions have been asked around confidential budgets to be applied at the discretion of the executive. No doubt, when it comes to military expenditure, defense expenditure, there is a level of confidentiality that the law requires. And this does not attract any public uproar because it's expected that you do that. Okay? Move on. Excuse me. You're going backwards. I think sleep is catching up. Father, up. No. Okay. So integrity is a measure of one's ability to keep promises. Every time you keep a promise, you increase your balance in your integrity account. Okay? But every time you break a promise, you decrease the balance. The effect of the two is not the same. The consequence, you can see there, of a broken promise cannot compare with capital increase of a promise kept. They can't balance. One broken promise can demolish sometimes irreparably the stock of integrity and goodwill that will be taken. What that has taken patient effort and sacrifice to build. You can see that. Just one. You can do 100 things right, but if you do one wrong, then it's done. We learned in our relationships and elsewhere that once trust is lost, it is almost impossible to restore. Okay? Integrity, as we have learned from our experience, is one of those things which is easier to talk about than to achieve. It's very easy. You can talk about it here, but it's very difficult to achieve. But we also say that we need an abundance of trust. But we never reach there. Okay? It is not a property that you can simply buy. You can't buy it. You must cultivate it. It starts in the peace and quiet of your mind. In fact, you can even see that it starts from the top, from your head. It is what you do when nobody is watching. Okay? It is what you do when there is neither recognition nor reward or punishment. It is how you behave when you are at red traffic light in the dead of the night. I don't know what you do, none of you have the lights. Yet, it must be constant, like the sun rising in the east and setting in the west. It will rise and set whether it's appreciated or not. The sun doesn't care. That is its job. And it does it. Integrity is absolute. It can't be partial. It's either there or it's not. It does not admit of any margins for compromise. Very high standards. Let's proceed. Our Constitution. This issue remained in the public discourse for years. Before the 2010 Constitution was there, until it found its way into Chapter 6 of our Constitution. We therefore, as you can see there, Chapter 6 of our Constitution, which is heavy on integrity and accountability. It is in some ways very unique. You can't find similar provisions in any other constitutions. Most constitutions confine themselves into the structures of the state, the executive, judiciary, legislature, etc., etc. But it occupies a very central point in our society. It must be enforced correctly by the correct people, but also guided by the correct motives. Otherwise, this constitutional chapter will be of no use. We have seen that to legislate ethics or ethics by decree is not sufficient. Ethical leadership means that ethical considerations must be taken seriously and attended to with deliberate effort. Otherwise, it does not happen by happenstance. Proceed. As we speak now, you have heard of the conflict of interest bill, which is kicking a bit of a storm in Parliament. I can't go into details of it here, but it is an important aspect of ethical leadership in our country. In fact, the reason why we have the Constitution is not even to control people, is to control the leadership, is to control our leadership. Now, the Constitution must be enforced, otherwise it will be a dead letter. But why is it important? In short, ethical leadership can help boost employee morale and help them to feel excited about the management and their work. It increases productivity and the collaboration in the organization and makes everyone feel happier at work. In the long term, ethical leadership prevents the common scandals, ethical dilemmas, and ethical issues. It attracts more partnerships and customers, which props up the bottom line. We cannot discuss this question exhaustively. We cannot. It cannot be detached from other factors in our society that contribute to good leadership. It must be thought of in relation to other properties of a good leader. So what makes a person a good leader? Willingness to evolve. There are people who take leadership positions. You apply to be a CEO of an entity. When you get there, you ask, what does a CEO do here? Okay? What does a CEO do here? A heightened level of curiosity. Leaders must be curious. Consciousness and purpose.
As a leader, how are we able to bring in our conversations, and through your experience and journeys, what learnings do you have that you can share with us? I'd like to start with Jane Rose, and then we come to, and then we'll be able to blend into the rest. Kindly.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First is to appreciate this particular forum, and especially the organizers. It is my first one to attend ever, and I have learned a lot. And it was also such an honor to interact and socialize with women, and very powerful women. To the organizers and the participants, thank you very much for having us. Having said that, I would say that for me, what works in the boardroom, out of the boardroom, is when you want to communicate, understanding and defining who are you communicating to. Is it the stakeholders you want to talk to? Is it the investors you want to talk to? Is it the staff members you want to talk to? Is it in the family boardroom that we were told is the first boardroom we are at that you want to communicate? And to who especially? Then you will be able to get to know the how to communicate. Because unless you resonate with the people you want to talk to, then you may tell a story, you may bring up a policy, you may do a strategy, but you have to connect with the doers and the recipients of that particular policy. For me, it is who we are talking to and what we are communicating will resonate with the how. It is said, it is not what you say, it is the how you say it.
I think I'm on, yes. These are very, very important elements of any organization. Now remember that stories are always more powerful than statistics. The best story always wins. But you must also know that the person who gets people to nod wins. If you have ideas, great ideas that are poorly explained, they go nowhere. But wrong ideas told compellingly can cause a revolution Okay? You can find a very inarticulate person. Okay? Who has growth, rather, you can find a person who has innovated, he's an innovator, but he goes nowhere. But you find this person who is inarticulate, telling a very good story and going places. So, why story is important and what should you do? And what are the elements of a good story? You must be very clear on the goal and purpose of your story. The goal and purpose of your story must be clear. There must be clarity. But the story must be designed to communicate a clear message. But also ensure that your story is not misinterpreted, because that can happen with serious consequences. The story must be kept simple and understandable. Don't use business jargons or legal acronyms. Okay, a story. But importantly, you must also anticipate the challenges and questions on issues that will be important to the board, or issues that worry them. You must be ready to be challenged on some of those issues. They may ask you questions of what they want to know. But finally, the greatest story that a chairperson can tell the board or organization is by leading or walking the talk. That's the greatest story. You can say all the things you want to say, but you must walk the talk. But also be a champion of ethics and values within the organization and a driver of excellence. I stop there for now. So, this is yours.
Thank you for that, Mohammed. And even as Caroline prepares to answer, one of the things that comes into my mind is the stories we tell also cultivate the kind of cultures we have in the rooms we find ourselves in. So what kind of culture are you speaking when you're in that room? Over to you, Caroline.
Right, okay. I agree with both what Generals and I'm not supposed to call you Mohammed, it's Esinyaga, have said. And for me, I'll take the step back to the framing of the question, okay? It was compelling storytelling that leaders can use to communicate vision and values effectively. So to speak to the points they both made, who are you speaking to? What are you speaking to them about? Why? And what is it you want out of it? Okay? So now when we're trying to communicate visions, this is going in and out. Thank you. Sorry, that one's going in and out, guys. Is what is it you're communicating for? So when you're communicating your vision and your values, you're starting by communicating them to your people. And the reason you're doing that is because you want them to take some kind of action. You want them to align with your vision, with your values, and behave in line with that vision and values, which also means driving towards goals that deliver that vision. You're communicating it externally because you want clients. Okay? You actually want people to buy your product, your service, which means your story. In the world of today, people are aligning with why you do what you do, and therefore why should they do business with you? Because we have choices now. As customers, we can choose where we want to be. So part of the communication of your vision and your values is to convince people to choose to do business with you. Yeah? So for me, it's what is a compelling story then? When we say compelling, we actually mean something that is believable and makes you want to act. Right? If as an organization we're communicating visions and values just so that you know, but do nothing, we haven't achieved our goal. Remember, it goes to the what is it we want out of the communication. So when you're sharing this, I actually think there's a couple of things in communicating, which is first, whatever it is that you're communicating, believe it yourself. If you don't believe what you're saying, it can be read. And they say that scientifically, up to 3 meters away, somebody can read your eyes. Okay? So if you're telling me something you don't believe, I know. Okay? So first thing is believe it yourself before you start trying to deliver it to others. Then paint a very clear picture. So it was said, paint a clear picture. But make it inspirational. Because if it doesn't sound like an exciting place to go, I'm not following your vision. Okay? So make it inspirational. And make it a story that somebody wants to be part of. Because that's the point, is you want people to feel like they want to join the movement. They want to be part of whatever your vision is. They want to participate in it. So it should be a story that makes people want to be part of it and that they resonate with. So it comes back to what Jen Rose was saying about knowing who you're talking to, who's your audience. So the story needs to resonate. Okay? So I need, when I'm hearing your story, when I'm hearing your values, your vision, I need to start to see myself as part of it, because some of the things you have said in delivering it make me feel like I identify with it. Okay? So for example, if we were telling stories, if we were doing presentations and speaking exclusively about Colombia and the brands in Colombia and leadership and laws in Colombia, you can't resonate. So there'll be a point where you're like, okay, is there a book I can read instead? So you should be able to resonate, it should identify with you, and then, sounds obvious, but isn't, is if you are communicating, don't be boring. Okay? So if I sit here and I say, okay, so what we have with communication is the vision and the values, is what the vision means and what the value means, is that you should know who you're talking to, why you're talking to them, and what you want. Okay, then we paint a clear and inspirational picture of where we want to go. So what I'm trying to do is to get all of you to go with me, because it's a really exciting journey that we have ahead of us as we hit all of these goals. Yay. Okay, so it sounds obvious, just don't be boring. Okay, don't be boring.
Okay, thank you very much, Caroline, and the other panelists. My name is Mercy Lynette Rotich. I sit in the board of Ketraco, and I'm more of a strategist. So when you speak about culture, I know how culture really relates to strategy. So when we speak about storytelling, one of the things that we need to understand is that storytelling is something that you will have to speak about either at the board level or either in management, because I know we have a management staff. And the bottom line is that you need to be able to connect to your audience in terms of what you're trying to communicate. You are also supposed to be able to persuade and influence your audience in terms of the story that you are delivering. For example, if I was to speak about our organization mission or organization vision, at the end of the day, I must be able to bring it out in a manner that you will understand. What does Ketraco do? When we speak about ensuring that we have or we become the best electricity transmission grid in the world, what I have to paint in your mind is those towers that you see along the roads. so that by the time you understand why we want to be the best in it, you are able to see those towers at the back of your mind. Now, there's a researcher by the name of Jerome Bruno, who, according to him, facts, which include your vision or mission, are 20 times likely to be remembered if they are part of a story. So, whether you're speaking to your stakeholders or you're speaking to your employees, at the end of the day, what matters is if you include a story in it, it is actually likely to be remembered. When we speak about organization culture, most of the time we look inwardly, that is the personnel of the organization. And when we speak about the personnel, can you recall for a minute, especially if you're a board member, how we can get our staff to speak a story about our corporations or our companies, our organizations? What type of a story can our personnel deliver? I have seen examples of organizations that use employees to drive what we call employee engagements. And if you look at the kind of impact that creates, first of all, the employee has to be convinced that I have to speak a good story about our organization. Can you imagine if you asked a member of your staff, speak about employee wellness, bring a story about the wellness that you want in this institution, or the wellness that you receive in this institution, or any support that you receive as an employee in the institution. So that is very critical. We should be able to create that strong connection. And Yuri Hassan, a professor of psychology and neuroscience, also discovered that as you hear a story unfold, you remember the stories even during, when we were young and you hear a bedtime story. If you speak a story to your child, you can actually get to a point, if you have eye contact, it's like they know what you are about to say, right? As in, they are already knowing where the story is leading to. So according to Professor Yuri Hassan, there is a way in which your brain waves is able to connect to the storyteller. And I think that is something that we need to really utilize as leaders in organizations, to be able to always use storytelling in a way to deliver more value and more influence. Thank you.
I think they deserve a better clap than that. And as I try to open the floor for any questions, one of the things I'm hearing is we need to understand our audience as we're speaking to them. We need to know what we are communicating so that there is clear clarity on how we are communicating. And then the style of communication matters based on the audience that you're communicating to and what you need them to comprehend. Otherwise, there will be communication, but people won't be listening and hearing what you're trying to say. I feel Caroline has something to add. You're listening in? Oh, wow. So I am communicating. Great. Rose, if there's anyone who has any question, I can see two. And then on this end, I have one hand. So that should be Joyce. And as you ask a question, if it's directed to a specific person, please mention their name.
Thank you very much. It could be to any of the panelists. But first of all, just wanted to say how consoled I am to hear that stories can run a longer distance than numbers. I am a stories person, so very consoled there. 2 weeks ago, or is it last week, I sat in a webinar where one of the topics that were discussed was how disadvantaged we are as Africans when we use leadership assessment frameworks that are Western oriented. And it caught me really as a fascination, because I think somebody actually said there's a study that was done, and I think one of the tools that was used for leadership assessment found like 75% of Chinese were introverts. Like, a whole community can't be introverts. That brings me to my question on storytelling, because I think that's about one of the things we do really well as Africans. And the asset that we are sitting on to probably show the way in terms of how far storytelling can go into nurturing women's confidence in the boardrooms, into breaking the intergenerational gaps that we are experiencing. And I'm just curious about your own experiences in using those indigenous ways of making sure that how we did it in the past and it works so well can actually find its way into the boardroom to our advantage and to our authentic way of doing. Thank you.
I think you had a question?
Thank you so much. So my question is on ethics and the link between conscience and ethics, and whether there's any relationship between conscience and ethics.
You know you lifted when I'm just passing you by here. Okay, thank you. Mine is to Senior Counsel Mohamed Nyaura, but anyone else can answer. And my question is, the chapter 4 of the Constitution need to give us a lot of hope. But is it something that it's achievable, is becoming a mirage? And secondly, how is it that doesn't apply across the board? You know what we learned about the hot stove is that anybody who touches the hot stove gets burned. But when you get a case where the stove is not burning, everybody who touches it becomes a concern. I don't know what you can say about that. Thank you.
Dorcas, can we have answers to that first, the three? The last question, so that each person can answer, okay?
My name is Sally. Mine is a question any can answer among us two. In Kenya, a country where we are like a very religious nation, how can the church, how can the religious leaders use storytelling to influence the ethical climate in Kenya? Thank you.
Let me start with my question. Chapter 6. Chapter 6 is, in my view, achievable, but it depends on a collaboration between different law enforcement agencies. Because you see, you can have a dead letter of the law, but execution enforcement is critical. Execution is always the weakest link, and the missing link in all that we do is a gap that we must always try and fill. Now, we have agencies that investigate. In fact, let's start from members of the public. They have to report if they see actions that offend Chapter 6. They have to investigate it. The courts must be involved. But what happens? Because of corruption, okay, within these different agencies, you find that people go scot-free. It must be deliberate, there must be willingness, there must be a culture, certain culture of enforcement of the law for this to come to fruition. But otherwise, it should remain in the books. You find somebody is charged today, but then they'll appear in charge as your preacher the following day. And you do nothing about it. And they blame somebody else for their arrest. Okay? You find somebody today is charged in court, but you voters elect that person to go to parliament or to a position of leadership. I recall a couple of years ago, someone was arrested. I shall not name him. He's an instructor to be or made here to be my lawyer in a defamation suit. So this person is taken to court, is charged, and what happens? Members of the public go there and say to the courts outside, give us our thief. All right? So, the long and short of it is that it behoves all of us to take steps towards realization of that chapter 6. We have seen so many of those instances, but people get away with it. Thank you.
Me being me, I'll add a little bit to each of the 3 questions. So one of them, the first one was around Dorcas, I believe, conscience and ethics. Okay? Your conscience is that little voice in your head that tells you that something is wrong. And remember, now you'll know I was paying attention, see. Ethics, okay, in philosophy, like he said, ethics is really looking at, are you following good or bad morals, right or wrong side, okay, of morals. So are you morally right, morally wrong? Then you have your ethics, which is of course linked to your values system. So you first start with you. When that is at dissonance, is when your conscience kicks in. All right? The conscience is always used to refer to when you've got the check and the balance. That little voice that is telling you, yeah? So they are linked, but they are not uniform and standard. Because, and it's the same thing with an organization, you can communicate whatever values you want. That doesn't automatically make them mine. Yeah? So your conscience, this is my own opinion, your conscience and your ethics are linked, but they are not uniform, they are not standard. So we may react differently to different things. I was having this conversation over lunch. And when I was a kid, if you were told by an adult, shame on you. Okay? Shame on you. It was heartbreaking. It was devastating to be told shame on you. And that's because there was an ethics system, there was a value system, and you had a sense of what was right and what was wrong. So being told shame on you was the ultimate, but your conscience already knew before you were told. But where you don't have that kind of feeling is my conscience could tell me something, but you have a totally different value system, and so your conscience says nothing. Yeah? On your Africa Leading the Way in storytelling, I think we need to first go back to basics because we're starting to lose our own stories. I was having this conversation with my daughter recently and telling her about women in history. And not globally, women in history in Kenya, because what I wanted to build in her was a very strong understanding on of the shoulders on which she stands. And then our girls are going to be stronger than us, they will face less than us. But I was telling her the story of Mekatilili, who, when I went to the National Museum, there was one paragraph, and this was last month, one paragraph. And it listed her with other freedom fighters. It didn't mention at all that she was a female, that it was almost 100 years ago and what she actually did. That woman broke out of jail in Kisii and walked all the way, almost 100 years ago. So I said, so now tell me, if we come from women like that, as Kenyan women, there are things that this world will stop us from doing. When we come from those kinds of bloodlines, this world can stop us. Okay? You must be louder because you don't sound believable. That is poor storytelling on my part if you're not resonating. But the reason I say, if we want to lead the way to the world, okay, and show them, because it's true, the African continent, that is how we passed down history. We pass down morals, we pass down ethics, we pass down knowledge, always through storytelling. But we've started to stop telling our stories and they will get lost. If we aren't telling our own stories and we're losing it ourselves, how will we show the world the way? If we don't first clean house for ourselves. And then the last one is religious leaders. I don't know if you people saw me change the legs I had crossed. You know, you just do, yeah. So the first thing for me is, if you want to be able to influence the ethical agenda anywhere else, do not start from a glass house. Okay? You cannot throw stones from a glass house. So for me, you know the idea of don't tell others they're not dressed well if you're naked. Okay? Then on the flip side, I watched something the other day, and it was a pastor, unfortunately I cannot remember his name, but it was a gathering of religious leaders, and I think it was the, what's that word? Somebody was being ordained, but the deputy president was there. So one of the pastors stood up, and he then started telling the story of Solomon, and there was building, and he was talking about the stones and that there was no noise, and he said, you know why? Because the stones that were used were dressed. So all of the shaping of the stones, the chiseling, the chipping, the hammering is done in the quarry, not at the building. Okay, not at the building site. It is done in the quarry. And then he said, so the stones that should come to the building site should be dressed. The finishing work of the stone, let it be done in the quarry. And he literally picked up 2 stones. One was a cabro, and he said, look at this one. And Deepika Sharma was sitting in front of him. He said, look at this one. This is a dressed stone. There's no chiseling, there's no making, there's no chipping that will happen when it is at the building. And he said, and look at this one. And he just took a normal stone. And he said, how much chipping and chiseling are we going to do with this one? This one belongs in the quarry. Let that happen in the quarry. And then he looked at him. And he said, so as you finalize these lists, please bring us dressed stones, like the story of Solomon. So you see, those are 2 examples. First one is a tidbit, but those are how to answer what can be played. That was a beautiful example of storytelling to try and teach a different lesson.
Okay, thank you. Let me also just add to the question on religious leaders and how they can use storytelling to influence ethics in Kenya. I do believe that religious leaders have a huge following. I think quite a high percentage of Kenyans are affiliated to a particular religion. And majority of the Kenyans would have a leaning towards agreeing to what the religious leaders would say. But I think in terms of their ability to use the storytelling as an influence, it is a great potential that they can. However, I think there is a lot that has to be done, first of all, to enable the religious leaders to understand the level in which they should be able to promote ethics themselves. I think in the recent past, the current government has been trying to put most of those houses in order. And I think for them to be able first to speak from the same platform in terms of what ethics should be subscribed by everyone, then I think the first thing is, first of all, to ensure that that all these leaders have an understanding of what ethics is. And then, now the second thing would be probably to do maybe capacity building on majority of them to be able to understand how they can use storytelling. Although majority of the times that you are in church, you would hear them reflecting so many stories. So I think it is possible, yes, and I would agree with what the panelists have said. Thank you.
I'll pick from where Mercy has left about the church. And I think the church acts as the biggest congregation where we really believe in those people who sit on the pulpits. What can they do to ensure that they speak ethics, values into their congregation? is to become pastors, is to become priests, and stop becoming transactional. The problem in the church is the money. Any pastor holding a mic, they're about to tell you about how we're going to buy a car, how we're going to buy new land, how we're going to buy instruments. We need to get back to the Bible and let the pastors preach the word. Let them leave the money issues to the bankers. I mean, let them leave land transactions to the land brokers. Everybody has their assignment. If we read the Bible, if they taught the Bible, then we don't need nothing else. They need to do their work as pastors. We know what is happening, where the church stands as at now, and it is very hard for me to tell my daughter how the churches were then. When we used to go for classes, Sunday school was very interesting. But right now, anytime they leave the house, they tell us, Mami, natuliambiwa tuende na sandaka mbili, one for, moja ni ya kutoa, ingine ni ya kujenga kanisa. What are we telling our kids? The other thing is, I think Mary asked on how storytelling will find itself in the boardroom. I would first ask, Mimi remember, what does that tell? Equity. How did you know it was equity? It is because there's somebody who told a story about an institution that resonated with the public. And you will find yourself in the boardroom discussing Mimi Remember. And that Mimi Remember has brought Director Mary in this boardroom through a story. She's telling us her story, how she has grown. She's telling us the values she has. She's trying to teach us through her own story. And we can read values of integrity, patience. We can read a lot from her story. Her story is written. We have so many other stories that are written. Some of them are in brands, like the story of Remis. Some of them are written, others are on print media. So we have those stories all over. And I would say that in the boardroom, and especially where you're dealing with people of different diversities, storytelling resonates. And you have a story, there is a story about everything. There is a story about a strategy, there is a story about values. And Mary would bear me witness when we were small, very young, and we had to join banks. We were not taught in a class the issue of integrity. We were being told of a story of the founders and how they used to carry money in their socks. And those were founders of a bank, and they were taking the money to the clients. And there was a guy called Ben Newton. He used to tell us on how they used to carry money in their socks. And they could go dish out the money, pay farmers, and come back with a balance. What did that tell you? You have to get yourself into a class. You're getting to an environment where you need to wear an outfit of integrity. They didn't need to mention integrity. Mary doesn't have to tell us to be patient and to trust the process. She only needs to tell us her story. And we know that those of us who aspire to be board members, the young women in board members, there is a process. You can get ready for it. You can prepare for it. You need to show up for it. You need to get ready for it. It may not be tomorrow, but it will come because you're ready, you're showing up, and you have a story.
Thank you. C.S. Mohammed.
Yeah. Let me just add one thing on storytelling in boardrooms. You can actually use stories in a boardroom to drive soft skills or emotional intelligence. How do you do it? How have I done it myself in the past in the various boards where I have served? I use the stories to try and teach board members that they are the do's and the don'ts. For example, I chaired a board some time back, several years ago, where a member made a contribution and the other one said, that's the most foolish contribution I've had in my entire life in boardrooms. Now, obviously, I had to ask them to apologize, but a different story. But in the subsequent boards where I've sat, I've said, by the way, you know, because sometimes we have a blue sky session where we just chat generally. I've said, by the way, I sat in this board and this is what happened. I sat in this board and people almost fought. I sat in this board and this was the behavior. So I use that to drive certain behavior that fosters positive board dynamics in the board. But even when we do the corporate governance training, sometimes, as Catherine, you know, we would go to an organization and then we are told, by the way, these are the challenges that we have here. But you can't directly say, I know you have this problem here. So what I do is that I use stories. I say, by the way, in this organization, that's why it used to happen. And I know it's not your organization. So the idea is to drive the story home without being very, very direct. Very, very, very powerful. Thank you.
Kindly, can we just give them a 5 factorial clap? Thank you. I would like to finish off with a quote, even as I hand over to Rose. Please make time as we're serving tea to interact with the people you don't know. It's our last day, so it's a chance for you to network. Network with our speakers, network with them. There is a dancing. It has been declared. It's a Friday. So my quote goes like this. The interested person asks about others and leaves a good impression because people like talking about themselves. The interested person is genuine, curious about someone's craft and learns a lot about how things work. The interested person engages with more people, and because opportunities come through people, it's more likely to catch a lucky break. In general, the interested person learns more and tends to be well-liked, and in the long run, it's hard to keep down someone who is well-learned and well-liked. So be interested and have a good evening. Over to you, Rose. Yeah, you may have your seats.
Thank you. That panel was powerful. Now, tujafanya factorial, come on, people. We can't just let them go. Somebody said it's Friday, Cindy. So there were how many? 4 times 2? No, 4 times 2 is not 10. Then is it? It's not 20. Yeah? Or you want 10? 10 factorials? No, let's do this. Let's do 8 factorials for our panel that has finished. And then at the end, just before we go, we do 10 for closing the conference. Cindy, hi, let's try 8. See, we know the drill. Wait, you don't just dump into it. We know the drill, eh? We are coming down. 8, 7, 5, like that. 8, 7, 6.
I'm taking the turn on your mouth.
Okay, let's start. Excellent, thank you very much. Yeah, we began, it was shaky at the beginning, but the rhythm caught, which was nice. So thank you very much. I'd like to invite Catherine to give us the closing remarks as we come to the end.
Thank you very much, Rose. Ladies, it has been, and gentlemen, sorry. My brother. It has been 3 days of learning, networking, relearning, and what else? Unlearning, and what else? meeting, right? But I have so thoroughly enjoyed myself. It just happened that this last session I had a deadline to submit, so I was sitting at the back there and I was like, oh no, I'm missing out. But I was listening with one ear. Caroline, you know how we multitask, right? I was multitasking right there. But honestly, I have learned so much from each and every one of you. The thoughts that have come through, the ideas that have come through, the new knowledge that has come through, the relearning that has come through, it has been amazing. Thank you for being part of the success of this conference. We wouldn't have done it without each and every one of you. Please turn to your neighbor and just say, I loved meeting you. Rose even decided she's going to stand up. And you know, my brother and the other men in the room, when women connect, we connect deeply, don't we? We connect deeply. And so I know that the relationships that we have forged in this, during this conference are going to take us forward. Thank you so much, everybody. And I just want to thank the Secretariat. They are the guys who do everything behind the scene. I don't even have to worry, I just go to bed because I know Mrs. Wanga and her team are going to get everything done. Are they in the room? Please stand up. Let's appreciate you. Thank you, the full team. There's Rita there at the back. Rita, please wave. Stephanie, well done. Mrs. Wanga, well done. Sheila, thank you very much. Where is Dorcas? You're part of the team. Dorcas, well done. Where is the committee? Rose, your committee, where is it? Thank you so much. This committee has done amazing work over the years and they have done us proud this time. Thank you so much. I am sure the board is taking note. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys. Before I finish, I just want to invite somebody to the stage to tell us something that is very important, which is about the awards. The Women on Boards Awards which are coming up. And I would hope that you have nominated yourself or you have nominated somebody else. We have about 9 or 10 categories there, but somebody was prevailing upon me during this meeting that, you know, there is one category you guys don't think about, the CEOs. They do so much quietly behind the scenes, but you guys don't recognize them. So I'm speaking quietly to Beatrice. I don't influence, I just speak quietly. And I hope she would hear and at least include the CEOs. But you guys tell her, you know, I can't tell her on my own. Beatrice, please tell us a little bit about the awards, because we do need to recognize those men and women who are doing a lot of work in diversity and inclusion, as well as organizations. Beatrice, over to you.
Thank you, Catherine, and good afternoon, everyone. Wonderful ladies, thank you for coming and for being with us for this good 3 days. My senior, Mr. Nyaoga, and the AG, and Wangare, and all of you. I'm so happy to see you this time. As you've heard, my name is Beatrice, and when I finish, this is the last, eh? Okay. Oh, you will come, we'll come back to you. Okay. My name is Beatrice Meso. I'm Reverend Beatrice Meso. And talk of transition, I'm a lawyer. I'm actually Catherine's classmate from law school. to date. And I'm also, I'm being told that ninasumbua camera sana because I'm there, they are struggling. Yes, so I've come to talk about the awards. We have what we call Women on Boards Network Awards. When we reached 7 years, that was in 2021, we were like, a 7-year-old should not just be there by now. We've been telling women practice governance, inclusivity, practice this. We've been telling the whole country, and we are doing nothing about it. We must go out and seek out those men and women who are doing this, who are practicing what we say, and reward them, or at least recognize them. And that is how Women on Board Awards was birthed. We are doing our 4th edition this year. We have 10 categories, as we have seen. Very inclusive. It includes the men also. There is an award for, what do we call, the male champion of women agenda. So there are several ladies who came and said, if it were not for so and so, I would not have been here. I would not have been on our board. And we were like, there are men out there. So there is a category for men, there are categories for young people, there are categories for board chairs, for board directors, and all that. And this year, somebody is going to talk to me. If you talk to me properly, I'm not a very bad person, we can include that category of the CEO of the year, woman CEO, isn't it? Yeah, it's not too late, we can include. So karibuni sana. If you haven't nominated, we are closing at the end of August so that we kickstart the process of assessment and then finally to the awards. It is a rigorous process. It includes an assessment with highly qualified assessors and people with integrity. And then it moves to another level where the results are taken to a jury, wise men and women again, just now a few of them, to look at the overall results. We also work with a quality assurance partner throughout the journey. For the past 3 years, we have had Deloitte being our quality assurance partner. So it is really a program with a lot of integrity. We work with integrity, as has been preached here. So karibuni sana for the award. As we said during the launch earlier in the year, in February, we said it is going to be, you've forgotten, it will be bigger. Say it will be bigger. It will be better. Yes, and that is what it will be. It will be better than the others. Karibuni sana. Yeah, thanks. I don't know. I was going to, my priestly duties demand that I pray, but after Catherine, I promise to come back.
Thank you. Yes, she became a priest and we continue praying for her so that she leads us, the sheep. Okay, great. You missed it, eh? So that was one announcement that I wanted to make. The second announcement I wanted to make is we've been asked about membership. For those of us who are not members of the Women on Boards Network, please go to our website, www.womenonboardskenya.co.ke. The membership form is there and you can join and you'll see the programs we have, and hopefully you will be mentored by people like Mary, and we'll convince Caroline to also be a mentor for us. Junior members are also welcome, so your daughters and sons below the age of 25, please encourage them to come and join. Like I said, just 1,000 bob and they become members and they get all those 2,000. I'm sorry, I gave a discount. Okay. Oh, okay, sorry. 2,000, they become members and that's it. We have board profiling. Caroline, Mohammed, Mary, and the other chairs in the room will tell you that when they are looking for board members, they loathe CVs being presented to them because they don't have time to read CVs. And many of us have CVs that even talk about executive roles. I want to lead a team, I want to all of that. That's not a profile that is looking for a board position. So we do have board profiling sessions, programs. There is one coming up in October. It is led by somebody out of Malaysia who used to work for Conferry. So please sign up and we will help you with preparing your board profile. Chairperson's Forum, I am saying this intentionally because Caroline is going to help me with that. We are setting up a Chairperson's Forum for women because chairpersons have special needs and they face special challenges that the other board members don't face. And so Caroline and I will sit down with her, be very nice to her. She was my boss, but I'll be very nice to her so that we can put together the Chairpersons Forum so that lady chairpersons can guide you even better and support you even better. So going forward, you're going to be seeing more of that. I would like to also mention the Global Women on Boards program. The 2024 program has already kicked off and Michelle is already in that program. Those of you who would like to come on board for 2025, please feel free to reach out to the Secretariat. This is a 6-month mentorship program as well, run by ourselves, Lead Women Malaysia and Columbia Centers, Nairobi and Paris. Graduation is in November this year in Paris, and for those who are alumni to that program, we have an alumni session that will start off in Italy. And this year we are saying that if you're nice to us, we might just allow 1 or 2 or 3 of you to come along with us to Italy for that alumni, if you behave. So please, yeah, so far you have behaved. We'll give you the details. If any of you is able to come along, because we have a conference in Italy with professional women of the European Professional Women Network. So it's going to happen there, and we'll visit the stock exchange there, we will visit the business schools there, Bocoloni or something like that, we'll visit that. So please look forward, look out for that. Corporate governance training programs, the next one is coming up in September. So if you would like the 1-week corporate governance crash program, please sign up for that as well. I think those are the main ones that I would like to speak about. And just finally to really thank each and every one of you for making the last 3 days a success. Since January this year, I cannot remember a day that has gone by without me looking at my laptop. Except when I came here on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and finally today, when I had to submit something very urgent. It just tells you that I have really enjoyed myself. I've enjoyed the interactions with you. Please keep us in check. Keep giving us feedback where we can improve in order for us to meet the needs of the women leaders out there. Because when one of us goes wrong, we are all blamed for that, isn't it? We are the brands of each and every one of us here. We represent all the women. So feel free to give us feedback so that we can improve day in, day out. I want to thank you so much, and I think we need a 3-factorial for each and every one of us, isn't it? Let's put some energy between our hands and let us go. 1, 2. Thank you very, very much, and I ask Reverend Beatrice Meso to close with a word of prayer. Reverend. Sorry. Before she closes and before Rose comes up, hasn't Rose done a fantastic job? She has, isn't it? And do you know how much energy this girl has? Wow! She kept us on our feet. No, don't apologize, Rose. Thank you so much. And on behalf of the board, on behalf of the network, thank you for all you have done during this conference. And I want to ask Karen, our junior member, please come forward. Karen, please come and appreciate Rose on our behalf. Please come. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rose. Really appreciate. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Laura, the other junior member, please come forward and appreciate Damaris, right? Damaris? Oh, sorry, Dorcas, I'm sorry. Dorcas. Where is Dorcas? Oh, thank you. Hasn't she been amazing? Dorcas is the one who put the concept together, who put the topics together, who put the program together with Rita. Thank you so much, Dorcas, for making this such a success. And isn't she just a fantastic moderator? Thank you so much, Dorcas. And I think Catherine has left, but I think we shall appreciate her in Nairobi. Now, on behalf of Jackie, where are you? Jackie? Oh, Jackie is not here, but thank you in absentia. And then now we want to appreciate our sponsors as well. Stima Sacco, please come forward. Thank you very much, Rita. Please come and do the honors. On behalf of the Women on Boards Network, we hope that you will continue working with us next year. Thank you for making sure that women are included. Thank you very much. Centum. On behalf of Centum, please come forward. Thank you so much. Rita, please just come and do the honors. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Sidian, please come forward. Sidian, thank you very much. Thank you. Right, Sidian? Oh, thank you very much. Appreciated. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ketrako? Ketrako? Ketrako. Right. Oh, here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciated. Thank you for the support, for making sure that women are included. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. So thank you so much, Rose. Can I hand over to you, then you close? Okay.
Thank you very much. I think what I wanted to say, remember we have tea. So we, and dancing. Okay, we can do that song of Lean on Me. Look for it with the lyrics, please. We had already agreed on that. So there's tea. So we still have an opportunity to network. I think it's at the back as usual. Dorcas, by any chance have you checked? Is it here or in the field like yesterday? I hope it's right here, all right? So let's have tea after before we leave. As you travel, for those who are here for the evening, I was told in a Friday, we keep time, we've really managed that. So for those who are staying overnight, enjoy your evening. Those who are traveling back, we really wish you a safe travel back to your destinations, and let's keep in touch. So I think let's pray, then we can dance Lean on Me, it's easy, and then we leave, yeah? All right. Okay, I hope the microphone is working. The other day, a priest colleague of mine said something is wrong with the mic, and guess what? The congregation answered, and also with you. So I hope this one is working. Let us, I don't want to be told and also with me. Let's stand up. Okay, let's pray. God, Father Almighty, we worship you and honor you. We thank you and glorify your name. We lift your mighty name high because of the things you have done in our lives. We thank you for bringing us here safely. We thank you for the wonderful 3 days that we have had. We thank you for every speaker on day 1. We thank you for every speaker on day 2. And on this day 3, we thank you more than ever before. We thank you for everybody who has attended. Thank you for keeping us safe. Thank you for opening our innermost ears for us to just to feel this experience in this place. God our Father, we thank you for Women on Boards. We thank you for the board. We thank you for the secretariat. We thank you for the leadership. We thank you for each and all the members and all the potential members, King of Glory. May you just bless each one of them, my Father. Thank you, God, for being with us, for being faithful to us, for starting with us this conference, and for ending with us. And now that we plan to go back to our homes, to our businesses, to our farms, to our families, God, we commit all of them into your hands again, saying that and knowing that without you we are nothing. And therefore we speak a blessing upon our businesses. We speak a blessing upon our farms. We speak a blessing upon our jobs. We speak a blessing upon our lives. For each and every person who came, may they be blessed because they came. Thank you, God, for your faithfulness, because we know that even as we go from today onwards, you are going to continue being with us. Keep us safe, King of Glory. Keep us in the palm of our hands, of your hand, King of Glory. We remember our leadership in this country. We pray for all Kenyans of all generations, from the Gen Zs to all generations, King of Glory. May you give them wisdom to know what is right and what is wrong, my Father. We pray for our leaders, King of Glory, each one of them, from the president to the very last man, King of Glory. May you just be their shepherd. as they shepherd the rest of us. We pray, my Father, that you will not leave us and that you'll give us peace that we need most in this country at this time. We pronounce prosperity in this country, from the east to the west, from the north to the south, King of Glory, that you will cover this country with your blood and you'll be with us, that you'll continue to unite us. And as women on boards, as we end this conference, we say that till we meet again, God, you'll continue being with us. All the plans that we have ahead, the awards and all other programs, God, we lift them into your hands that you will take charge. We pray all this believing and trusting in the precious name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Feedback so that we know how to plan better. Thank you.